The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and butter. I was making apple turnovers from scratch, the kind my grandmother used to make on Sunday mornings. My hands were covered in flour. The radio was playing something soft and forgettable. Ben was in the garage, tinkering with his motorcycle. It was a Saturday afternoon in late September, the kind of day where everything feels suspended between summer and fall, where the light comes through the windows golden and thick. I didn't know my life was about to split open. The phone rang. I wiped my hands on my apron and checked the screen. Chloe, my baby sister. Well, not a baby anymore. She was 32 now, but she'd always be my baby sister. The one I used to braid hair for before school. The one who called me crying after her first breakup. The one who still asked me what to wear to job interviews. I smiled and answered, "Hey you, what's up?" Sarah. Her voice was breathless, high, excited in a way that made my chest tighten with some unnamed anxiety. "Sarah, oh my God, I have to tell you something." I turned down the radio. "Okay, what's going on? You sound like you just won the lottery." "Better than the lottery." She laughed. It was that giggly, uncontrolled laugh she got when she was truly happy. "I'm engaged." The wooden spoon I'd been holding clattered into the sink. "What?" "I'm engaged. He proposed last night. Sarah, it was perfect. There were candles and rose petals, and he got down on one knee, and I can't even describe it. I feel like I'm floating." My mind stuttered. Engaged. Chloe was engaged. I knew she'd been dating someone. She'd mentioned a guy a few times over the past 6 months. Someone she'd met through work. Someone who made her laugh. But engaged? Already? "Chloe, I tried to find words, tried to sound happy. "That's wonderful, honey. I'm so happy for you. Tell me about him. Tell me everything." She launched into it. The proposal had been at a rooftop restaurant downtown. He'd planned it for weeks, she said. Got her best friend to help pick out the dress she wore that night. The ring was platinum with a princess-cut diamond. Her voice was pure joy, pure excitement, and I was trying to listen. Trying to be the supportive older sister, but something felt off. 6 months wasn't very long, and Chloe had always fallen fast. Always believed in fairy tales a little too much. "So when do I get to meet him?" I asked. I was already planning dinner, already thinking about how to gently, carefully, make sure the sky was good enough for my sister. "Actually, I think you already know him," Chloe said. Her tone shifted slightly, just a little. "That's the crazy part. It's such a small world." My stomach dropped. I don't know why. I just felt it. Some animal instinct. Some part of my brain that knew before the rest of me could catch up. "What do you mean?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "His name is Mark." She paused. "Mark Harrison." The world stopped. I mean that literally. The sound cut out. The golden light through the window went harsh and white. My lungs forgot how to work. Mark Harrison. My Mark Harrison. No, not my Mark. He stopped being mine 15 years ago. But Chloe's Mark? How could they be the same person? "Sarah, are you there?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. I tried again. "Mark Harrison?" "Yeah, I know, right? What are the odds?" When he told me his ex-wife's name was Sarah, I thought, no way. But then he showed me a picture from way back, and I was like, oh my God, that's my sister. She laughed again, that same happy, oblivious laugh. "Isn't that wild? I mean, I know it's a little weird, but he said you guys ended things on good terms. That you just grew apart. And honestly, Sarah, he's amazing. He's changed so much. He's mature now. He's ready for commitment. He treats me like a queen." I couldn't breathe. The kitchen was spinning. Mark, my ex-husband Mark, the man I divorced after 8 years of slowly dying inside, the man who'd broken me in ways I didn't even know I could break. And now, he was marrying my baby sister, Sarah. Chloe's voice was quieter now, uncertain. "Are you okay?" "I know this is probably strange, but I wanted to tell you myself. I didn't want you to find out from Mom or something." and I really hope you're happy for me. I know your marriage to him didn't work out, but that was a long time ago. People change. People change. Those words bounced around in my skull like bullets. People change. Did they? Did Mark? My voice cracked. I need to go, Chloe. I have something on the stove. Oh, okay. She sounded hurt, disappointed. But you're happy for me, right? Of course, I lied. Of course I am. We'll talk later, okay? Congratulations. I hung up before she could say anything else. The phone slipped from my hand onto the counter. I stood there, staring at nothing, my flour-covered hands shaking. Mark. Mark was marrying Chloe. The room tilted. I grabbed the edge of the counter to steady myself. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought I might be sick. This couldn't be happening. This was some kind of nightmare, some cosmic joke. But it wasn't. It was real. Chloe's voice had been real. Her happiness had been real. And Mark? Mark was real. Still out there, still charming people, still ruining lives. I heard footsteps behind me. Ben's hand landed on my shoulder. Hey, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I turned to look at my husband. Then, my second chance. My proof that good men existed. He had grease on his hands and concern in his eyes. I opened my mouth to tell him, to explain. But I couldn't find the words. It's Chloe, I finally managed. She's engaged. Ben's face lit up. That's great. When did this happen? Last night. I swallowed hard. Ben, it's Mark. He stared at me. What? The man she's marrying. It's Mark, my ex-husband Mark. Ben's expression shifted through several emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, disbelief, anger. He stepped back, running his hand through his hair. You're kidding. I wish I was. How's that even possible? I don't know. My voice was rising, getting shrill. She said they met through work. She said it's been 6 months. 6 months, Ben, and she didn't tell me his last name. She just said Mark, and I never thought. Okay. Ben's voice was calm, steady. He was always steady. Okay. Let's sit down. Let's think about this. But I couldn't sit down. I was pacing now. Back and forth across the kitchen floor. He's going to hurt her. He's going to destroy her just like he almost destroyed me. And she doesn't know. She thinks he's changed. She thinks he's some perfect guy who's ready for commitment. But he's not. He's the same. He has to be the same. Sarah, I have to tell her. I have to warn her. You will, Ben said. But you need to calm down first. You need to think about what you're going to say. If you call her right now while you're this upset, she's not going to listen. She's going to get defensive. He was right. I knew he was right. But every cell in my body was screaming at me to do something. To protect my sister. To stop this before it was too late. I sank into a chair at the kitchen table, put my head in my hands. And for the first time in 15 years, I let myself really remember what it was like to be married to Mark Harrison. The memories came back sharp and clear, like they'd been waiting just beneath the surface all this time. I was 23 when I met Mark, fresh out of college, working my first real job at a marketing firm downtown. He was 26, already confident, already successful. He worked in finance, wore expensive suits, drove a car that cost more than my yearly salary. When he walked into a room, people noticed. He noticed me at a company mixer. I was standing by the bar, nursing a glass of cheap wine, trying to look like I belonged. He appeared at my elbow with that smile, that devastating, charming smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. You look bored, he said. I am bored, I admitted. Want to get out of here? We went to a diner, talked until 3 in the morning. He was funny, smart. He asked me questions about myself, about my dreams, my family. He seemed genuinely interested. By the time he dropped me off at my apartment, I was already half in love with him. We dated for a year. It was a whirlwind, expensive dinners, weekend trips. He introduced me to his friends, his colleagues. He made me feel special, important, like I was part of something bigger than my small, ordinary life. When he proposed, I said yes without hesitation. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. I wore my mother's wedding dress. Mark wore a custom tuxedo. In the photos, we look happy, young, full of possibility. The first year was good, great even. We moved into a nice apartment in a good neighborhood. I kept working. He got a promotion. We talked about the future, about kids, about the house we'd buy someday, about growing old together. But somewhere around year 2, things started to shift. Small things at first. He'd come home late from work without calling. He'd forget plans we'd made. He'd get irritated when I asked about his day. I told myself it was stress. That's what you do when you're in love. You make excuses. By year 3, the small things weren't small anymore. He was distant, checked out. We'd sit across from each other at dinner, and he'd be on his phone, scrolling through emails, barely looking at me. When I tried to talk to him about it, he'd say I was being needy, that I didn't understand the pressure he was under, that I should be more supportive. I started to feel invisible, like I was living with a stranger who just happened to have my husband's face. Year 4 was when I started to break. We'd stopped having sex, stopped going on dates, stopped laughing together. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and look at him sleeping next to me and wonder how we'd gotten here. How the man who'd made me feel so alive could make me feel so dead. I tried everything. I suggested couples therapy. He refused, said we didn't need it, said I was overreacting. I tried planning special dinners, romantic getaways, anything to reconnect. He'd show up late, cancel at the last minute, act annoyed that I was trying so hard. Year 5, I stopped trying. I was just existing, going through the motions. I'd become a ghost in my own life. But the memory that really stuck, the one that still made my chest hurt when I thought about it, was our 8th anniversary. I'd planned it for weeks, made a reservation at the restaurant where we'd had our first date. That diner. It had become something nicer over the years, but it was still there. Still the same place where we'd talked until the sun came up. I thought maybe going back there would remind us, of who we used to be. I bought a new dress, did my hair, put on makeup for the first time in months. When Mark came home from work, I was waiting by the door. "Ready to go?" I asked. I was smiling, actually smiling, hoping, still hoping. He looked at me blankly. "Go where?" "Dinner, our anniversary. I made a reservation." He sighed, actually sighed, like I'd just told him he had to take out the trash. "Sarah, I can't tonight. I have a conference call with Tokyo in an hour." "It's Saturday." "I know, but this deal is important. I told you about it." "No, you didn't." My smile was fading. "And I made this reservation 3 weeks ago. I reminded you yesterday." "Well, I forgot." He walked past me into the kitchen, loosened his tie. "Can we do it tomorrow? Tomorrow's not our anniversary. It's one day. What's the big deal?" I stood there in my new dress, in the apartment that didn't feel like a home anymore, looking at this man who was supposed to love me. This man who couldn't even remember our anniversary, couldn't be bothered to pretend. "The big deal," I said slowly, "is that I'm your wife, and you treat me like I'm nothing, like I'm an inconvenience. That's not fair. Isn't it?" I could feel tears building, but I refused to cry. Not again. I was so tired of crying. When was the last time you asked me how I was? How my day was? When was the last time you looked at me? Really looked at me and saw me? You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. He turned away, opened the fridge, got out a beer. I don't have time for this right now. I have work to do. He walked out of the kitchen. I heard his office door close, and I stood there in my new dress, in the silent apartment, and I knew. I finally knew. It was over. It had been over for a long time. I'd just been too scared to admit it. I went to the bedroom, changed out of the dress, hung it in the back of the closet. I never wore it again. 3 months later, I filed for divorce. Mark didn't fight it, didn't even seem surprised. We divided our assets, sold the apartment, went our separate ways. When the papers were final, I felt relief. Not happiness, not sadness, just relief. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and could finally exhale. I didn't see him again after that. Didn't want to. I moved on, started therapy, started rebuilding myself. Met Ben 2 years later, married him 3 years after that, created a life that was full and good and real. I thought Mark was in my past. I thought I'd closed that chapter, learned from it, moved forward. But now he was back. Not in my life, in Chloe's. And she had no idea what she was walking into. No idea what he was really like beneath that charm, that smile, that carefully constructed facade. I lifted my head from my hands. Ben was sitting across from me, watching me with those kind, patient eyes. I have to stop this, I said. My voice was quiet but certain. I have to protect her. I know, Ben said, but you have to be smart about it. Chloe's an adult. She's going to make her own choices. And if you come at her too hard, she's going to push you away. So what do? You tell her the truth, calmly, clearly. You explain what your marriage was like, why it ended. And then you let her decide. And if she doesn't listen? Ben reached across the table and took my hand. Then you'll be there to pick up the pieces, the way you always are. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe it would be that simple. But I knew Chloe. I knew how stubborn she could be, how much she wanted to believe in happy endings. And I knew Mark. Knew how good he was at making people believe whatever he wanted them to believe. This wasn't going to be simple. This was going to be a war. And I was going to have to fight it carefully, strategically, because the stakes weren't just high. They were everything. My baby sister's future, her happiness, her heart. I couldn't let Mark break her the way he'd broken me. I wouldn't. I stood up from the table, walked to the window, looked out at the autumn afternoon, at the leaves starting to turn gold and red. Everything was changing. Everything was about to get complicated. But I'd been through worse. I'd survived Mark once. I could do it again. For Chloe. For my family. I pulled out my phone, stared at Chloe's name in my contacts. I needed to call her back. Needed to start this conversation. But I needed to be ready. Needed to know exactly what I was going to say. Ben came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. You okay? No, I said honestly. But I will be. What do you need? I thought about it. About the enormity of what I was facing. About the memories I'd just dragged back to the surface. About the fear that was coiling tight in my chest. I need to remember everything, I said. Every red flag, every warning sign, every moment I ignored because I wanted to believe he'd change. I need to lay it all out. So when I talk to Chloe, I have proof. Not just feelings, proof. Then let's do that, Ben said. Let's write it all down. Every detail, every moment. We'll build a case. I turned in his arms, looked up at this man who loved me, who supported me, who was everything Mark never was. Thank you, I whispered. Always, he said. We went to the living room. I got my laptop. Ben made coffee. and I started typing. Started putting 15 years of pain and lessons into words. Started building the case that would save my sister. Because Mark Harrison had taken 8 years of my life. He'd taken my 20s, my trust, my belief in marriage, but he wasn't taking Chloe. Not if I had anything to say about it. I typed late into the night. Ben sat beside me, reading over my shoulder, asking questions, helping me remember details I'd tried to forget. The anniversary he missed. The birthday he forgot. The promotion I got that he barely acknowledged. The miscarriage I had while he was on a business trip. A trip he didn't cut short. Not even by a day. That memory hit me like a truck. I'd forgotten about that. Or maybe I'd buried it so deep I couldn't reach it anymore. But now it was back, raw and terrible. I was 28. We'd been married for 5 years. We'd been trying for a baby for 6 months. When I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified and thrilled in equal measure. Maybe this would fix us. Maybe a baby would bring us back together. I was 10 weeks along when I started cramping, started bleeding. I called Mark. He was in San Francisco for a conference. I told him what was happening, that I was scared, that I needed him. "It's probably nothing," he said. "Just call the doctor." I did. They said to come in. "Mark, I'm really scared." "I'm sure it's fine. Look, I have to go. I'm about to give a presentation. Call me later and let me know what the doctor says." He hung up. I drove myself to the hospital, sat in the waiting room alone, found out alone that I was losing the baby, cried alone in that sterile, cold room, while nurses spoke to me in soft, pitying voices. I called Mark after. He was at dinner with clients. "That's terrible, honey, I'm so sorry. I'll be home tomorrow night. We'll talk then." Tomorrow night. He couldn't come home early, couldn't cancel his dinner, couldn't prioritize me. Not even then. Not even when I just lost our baby. When he got home the next night, he hugged me, said the right things, but I could see it in his eyes. Relief. He hadn't wanted the baby. Not really. This was easier for him. I never got pregnant again. We stopped trying. I told myself it was better this way, that bringing a child into our broken marriage would have been wrong. But the truth was, I couldn't bear the thought of going through that pain again, of needing him, of being let down. I typed it all out, every painful detail. Ben sat beside me, his hand on my back, silent support. When I finished, it was past midnight. I had 20 pages. 20 pages of reasons why Mark Harrison should never be trusted with anyone's heart. I saved the document, closed the laptop, leaned back against the couch cushions. "She's not going to want to hear this," I said. "I know," Ben said. "She's going to think I'm jealous, or bitter, or trying to ruin her happiness. Maybe at first. But Chloe loves you. She'll listen, eventually." "And if she doesn't?" Ben was quiet for a moment. "Then you'll have done everything you could, and you'll be there when she needs you. That's all you can do." I knew he was right. But it didn't make me feel better, because I could already see how this would play out. Chloe, defensive. Mark, manipulative. Me, caught in the middle, trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. I thought about the framed divorce papers. They were in a box in the attic, along with other remnants of that life. Photos I'd never thrown away. Documents I'd kept for some reason I couldn't explain. Maybe I'd known, on some level, that I'd need them someday. That the past wasn't really past. That Mark would find a way back into my life, even if it was through someone else. I stood up. I need to see them. See what? The divorce papers. I need to look at them. Remember what it felt like to sign them, to finally be free of him. Ben nodded, didn't question it. That was one of the things I loved about him. He understood that sometimes you needed to face things head-on, even when it hurt. We went to the attic. It was dusty and cold, full of boxes we'd been meaning to sort through for years. I found the one I was looking for in the back corner, opened it, and there they were, the papers that had ended my first marriage. I pulled them out. The pages were yellowed, the signatures faded, but they were real, proof that I'd survived, that I'd chosen myself, that I'd walked away. I looked at Mark's signature, that bold, confident scrawl, and I felt something harden in my chest, a determination, a resolve. He'd hurt me once. He wasn't going to hurt Chloe. I would stop this, whatever it took, however long it took. I would protect my sister, even if she hated me for it. I took the papers downstairs, put them on the kitchen table, stared at them while Ben made tea. The apartment was quiet. The world outside was dark. And I sat there, planning, thinking, preparing for the fight ahead. Because this was a fight. Make no mistake. Mark Harrison was charming, convincing, good at making people see what he wanted them to see. But I knew the truth, and I was going to make sure Chloe knew it too. Tomorrow, I'd call her. Tomorrow, I'd start trying to open her eyes. Tomorrow, the real battle would begin. But tonight, I sat with my past, with the proof of what I'd endured, with the promise I was making to myself and to my sister. Mark Harrison had taken enough. He wasn't taking anything more, not from me, and definitely not from Chloe. I picked up my phone, looked at the document I'd written. All those memories, all that pain. I copied it, pasted it into an email, addressed it to myself, sent it. Now it was archived, permanent, something I could reference, something I could show Chloe if I needed to. Ben sat down next to me, put his hand over mine. You're going to get through this. We're going to get through this, I corrected. He smiled. Yeah, we are. I leaned my head on his shoulder, closed my eyes, and I let myself feel it. All of it. The fear, the anger, the determination, the love I had for my sister, the hatred I had for my ex-husband, the gratitude I had for my current husband. It was a lot. Too much, maybe. But I'd carry it. Because that's what you do for family. You carry the weight. You fight the battles. You protect the people you love. Even when they don't know they need protecting. Even when it costs you everything. I opened my eyes, looked at the divorce papers one more time, and then I folded them carefully, put them back in the box, carried the box to my office, set it on the shelf where I could see it. A reminder, a warning, a promise. Tomorrow, the war began. Tonight, I prepared. And somewhere out there, Mark Harrison had no idea what was coming for him. He thought he'd won, thought he'd found another victim, another woman to charm and use and discard, but he'd made one fatal mistake. He'd gone after my sister, and I wasn't the same woman he'd been married to. I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't afraid. I was stronger, smarter, and I was done being a victim. This time, I was the one in control. This time, I was the one who would decide how this story ended, and it wasn't going to end well for Mark. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Ben, staring at the ceiling, watching shadows move across the plaster as cars passed outside. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Chloe's face. Young, hopeful, the way she'd looked at 16 when she got her driver's license. At 21 when she graduated college. At 25 when she got her first apartment. Always moving forward. Always believing the best was yet to come. And now Mark had convinced her he was her best yet to come. At 6 in the morning, I gave up on sleep. I went to the kitchen, made coffee, and stared at my phone. I needed to call Chloe, needed to set up a meeting, face to face. This wasn't a conversation for phones or texts. This required looking her in the eye, making her see. But what would I say? How do you tell someone that the person they love is going to destroy them? How do you make them believe you when they're floating on cloud nine, convinced they found their forever? I typed out a dozen texts, deleted them all, finally settled on something simple. Hey, can we meet for lunch today? Just the two of us. I want to hear all about your engagement. Sister date? I hit send before I could second guess it. The response came 5 minutes later. Yes, I've been dying to tell you everything. Noon at Rosie's? Rosie's, our place. The cafe where we'd been going since Chloe was in high school. Where we'd celebrated her college acceptance. Where she'd cried to me about breakups. Where we'd laughed until we couldn't breathe over stupid inside jokes. Mark was taking that from us too. Turning our sacred space into a battlefield. Perfect. See you there, I typed back. Ben found me at the table, my coffee gone cold, my hands shaking slightly. He didn't say anything, just kissed the top of my head and started making breakfast. Eggs, toast, normal things. Like this was a normal day. You don't have to do this alone, he said, sliding a plate in front of me. I can come with you. No. I pushed the eggs around with my fork. She needs to hear this from me, just me. If you're there, she'll think we're ganging up on her. What are you going to say? The truth. All of it. Everything I wrote last night. I looked up at him. What if she doesn't believe me? Then you keep trying. And if she still doesn't believe you, you let her make her own mistakes. And you're there to help pick up the pieces. I can't just watch her marry him. I can't. Ben sat down across from me, took my hand. Sarah, you can't control this. You can tell her what you know. You can warn her. But ultimately, it's her choice. You have to accept that. I don't accept that. The words came out harder than I meant. I'm her big sister. It's my job to protect her. It's always been my job. She's not a kid anymore. I know that. But she's still my baby sister. And Mark is still the man who nearly broke me. I can't. I won't let him do that to her. Ben squeezed my hand. I know. Just promise me you'll stay calm. Don't let your emotions take over. Be honest. Be clear. But don't attack. The more you push, the more she'll pull away. He was right. I knew he was right, but every instinct in my body was screaming at me to shake Chloe, to make her see, to force her to understand. I spent the morning rehearsing, pacing the living room, trying to find the right words, the right tone. I needed to be gentle but firm, honest but not cruel. I needed to make her see Mark for who he really was, without making it sound like I was jealous or bitter. It was impossible, but I had to try. I got to Rosie's 15 minutes early, sat in our usual booth by the window, ordered coffee I didn't drink, watched the door. My stomach was in knots. My hands wouldn't stop fidgeting. I felt like I was preparing for surgery, like I was about to cut something open that needed to be opened, but the pain was going to be immense. Chloe walked in at exactly noon. She looked radiant. There's no other word for it. Her hair was shiny, her skin was glowing. She was wearing a yellow sundress and sandals, and she had this smile on her face that could have lit up the whole restaurant. She spotted me and practically ran over, slid into the booth across from me, held out her left hand. Look at it, she said. Isn't it beautiful? The ring sparkled under the cafe lights, big, expensive, exactly the kind of thing Mark would buy. Showy, impressive, designed to make a statement. It's gorgeous, I said. And it was. But all I could think was how much it probably cost. How Mark always spent money on things that made him look good. How he never spent money on things that actually mattered. I keep staring at it, Chloe said. She was beaming. I keep forgetting it's real, that this is actually happening. I'm getting married, Sarah, to the most amazing man. The most amazing man. The words felt like a knife. I forced myself to smile, to breathe. To remember what Ben said. Stay calm. Don't attack. Tell me how it happened, I said. The proposal. You said it was perfect? She launched into it. Every detail. The rooftop restaurant. The sunset. The way Mark got down on one knee. The way he told her she was the love of his life. The way everyone in the restaurant clapped. It was straight out of a movie. Scripted. Performed. Classic Mark. I listened, nodded, made the appropriate sounds, and the whole time my chest was getting tighter. My breathing was getting shallower. Because this was the same man who'd forgotten our 8th anniversary, who'd called me dramatic when I asked for the bare minimum, who'd made me feel invisible for years. But Chloe didn't know that. She just saw the performance, the grand gestures, the romance. So when's the wedding? I asked. 6 months. I know that's fast, but we don't want to wait. When you know, right? 6 months. My God, 6 months. I had 6 months to stop this. Chloe, I took a breath. Can I talk to you about something? About Mark? Her smile faltered, just slightly. What about him? I want to make sure you really know him, that you understand who he is. I do know him. Her tone was defensive now, protective. We've been together 6 months. We've talked about everything. Our pasts, our futures, everything. But you haven't been with him long. 6 months it's long enough. She pulled her hand back, crossed her arms. Sarah, what's going on? Are you upset that I'm marrying your ex? I'm concerned that you're marrying my ex. Why? You've been divorced for 15 years. You're married to Ben. You've moved on. Why would you care? Because I know him. I know what he's really like. And I don't want you to go through what I went through. Chloe's eyes narrowed. What you went through? You mean your marriage that ended because you grew apart? That's what Mark said. He said you two just weren't compatible, that you wanted different things. Is that what he told you? I could feel my voice rising. I tried to control it. That we just grew apart? Yes. And honestly, Sarah, that makes sense. You were young. People change. Relationships end. It doesn't mean he's a bad person. Chloe. I leaned forward, looked her in the eye. He didn't just grow apart from me. He checked out of our marriage. He made me feel worthless. He put his work, his friends, his own comfort above me every single time. He forgot our anniversary. He missed important moments. He was emotionally unavailable and selfish, and stop. Chloe held up her hand. Just stop. You're being really unfair right now. Unfair? I'm trying to protect you. No. You're trying to ruin this for me. You're projecting your failed marriage onto my relationship. Just because things didn't work out between you and Mark doesn't mean they won't work out between us. It's not about me, it's about him, about who he is as a person. People change, Sarah. You said it yourself. It's been 15 years. He was in his 20s then. He's in his 40s now. He's grown. He's different. Has he told you about the miscarriage? The words came out before I could stop them. Sharp. Cruel. Chloe blinked. What miscarriage? The one I had when we were married. Did he tell you that he was on a business trip when it happened? That I begged him to come home and he said no? That he chose a conference over me losing our baby? The color drained from Chloe's face. He didn't mention that. Of course he didn't. Because it makes him look bad. Because it shows exactly who he is. Someone who will always choose himself first. Chloe was quiet for a long moment. I could see her processing, trying to reconcile the Mark she knew with the Mark I was describing. Then her expression hardened. That's horrible, and I'm sorry that happened to you. But that was 15 years ago, and maybe you're not telling me the whole story. Maybe there's more to it. There isn't. I called him crying, bleeding, terrified, and he told me he'd see me tomorrow. He didn't come home, not even for that. People make mistakes, especially when they're young. It doesn't define them forever. I felt something snap inside me. You're defending him. You're actually defending him right now. I'm trying to be fair, to see both sides. You're asking me to break up with the man I love based on things that happened over a decade ago. Things that might not even be accurate anymore. Might not be accurate? My voice was too loud now. People were starting to look. Chloe, I lived it. I was there. I'm telling you the truth and you're acting like I'm making it up. I'm not saying you're making it up. I'm saying you might be remembering it wrong, or exaggerating, or still too hurt to be objective. Too hurt to be objective? I laughed. It was a bitter sound. I'm the most objective person here. I'm the only one who knows what he's really like. No, Chloe's voice was cold now. You knew what he was like 15 years ago. You don't know what he's like now. You haven't seen him. You haven't talked to him. You haven't given him a chance to explain his side. I don't need to hear his side. I already know it. He'll be charming. He'll make excuses. He'll make you feel like I'm the problem. That's what he does. That's what he's always done. You sound paranoid. The word hit me like a slap. Paranoid? Yes. You sound like you can't stand that he's moved on, that he's happy, that he's found someone else. That's ridiculous. I'm happily married. I don't want Mark back. I want you to be safe. Safe from what? From a man who loves me, who treats me well, who wants to build a life with me. He won't treat you well, not in the long run. Once the honeymoon phase is over, once you're married and he's comfortable, he'll revert. He'll become that same selfish person I was married to. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because people don't change. Not fundamentally, not at their core. That's a sad way to live. Chloe stood up. Believing that people can't change, can't grow, can't learn from their mistakes. Chloe, please, sit down, let me. No, I don't want to hear any more. You've made it very clear how you feel, and honestly, Sarah, I'm really disappointed in you. I thought you'd be happy for me. I thought you'd support me. But instead, you're trying to sabotage my relationship because of your own baggage. It's not baggage, it's experience, it's knowledge, it's jealousy. She grabbed her purse. Whether you want to admit it or not, you're jealous that Mark has found happiness with someone else, with me. That's not true, isn't it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you can't handle the fact that your ex-husband is marrying your sister, that we're going to be a family, that you're going to have to see him at holidays and birthdays and... I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. Neither is this. She gestured between us. I came here excited to share my joy with you, and you turned it into this, into an attack on the man I love. Chloe, I don't want to hear it. I'm done. I'll send you a wedding invitation. You can decide whether or not you want to come, but either way, I'm marrying Mark, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. She walked out. The door chimed as it closed behind her. I stood there frozen, aware that everyone in the cafe was staring at me. The older woman 2 booths over looked sympathetic. The young couple by the door looked uncomfortable. The waitress was hovering nearby, unsure whether to approach. I sat back down, put my head in my hands, and I tried not to cry. Not here, not in front of strangers. But the tears came anyway, silent, frustrated, angry tears. I'd lost. The conversation I'd planned so carefully had gone exactly the way I feared. Chloe thought I was jealous, bitter, trying to ruin her happiness. And Mark was still the hero of her story, the perfect man who'd been wronged by his difficult ex-wife. I'd played right into his hands, made myself look like the villain. The waitress approached carefully. Can I get you anything? Just the check, I managed. She brought it quickly. I paid, left. Walked to my car on shaky legs, sat in the driver's seat and stared at nothing. I'd failed. My first attempt to save Chloe had not only failed, it had made things worse. Now she was defensive, protective of Mark, convinced I was the problem. I pulled out my phone, called Ben. How did it go? He asked. Terrible. She thinks I'm jealous. She stormed out. Ben, I made it worse. Come home. We'll figure out what to do next. There is no next. She's not going to listen to me. She's made up her mind. Then we try something else. We find another way, but come home first. Don't sit there alone. I drove home on autopilot. My mind was spinning, replaying the conversation. Every word I'd said, every word Chloe had thrown back at me. I'd been too aggressive, too emotional. I'd let my anger at Mark bleed into my concern for Chloe. And now she couldn't separate the two. When I got home, Ben was waiting on the porch. He wrapped me in his arms, and I let myself fall apart. Really fall apart. All the fear and frustration and helplessness I'd been holding in came pouring out. She hates me, I sobbed into his chest. She thinks I'm trying to ruin her life. She doesn't hate you. She's just in love. And people in love don't want to hear bad things about the person they love. What do I do? How do I make her see? I don't know. But we'll figure it out. Together. We went inside. Ben made tea. I sat at the kitchen table, exhausted, defeated. I'd been so sure I could reach her. So sure that if I just told her the truth, she'd understand. But love made people stupid. Love made them blind. And Chloe was deeply, irrevocably in love with Mark. I couldn't stop thinking about the last thing she'd said. That I couldn't stand her being happier with Mark than I'd been. It was a low blow, designed to hurt, and it had worked. But it also made me remember something I'd tried to forget. Another example of Mark's selfishness. Another moment that proved it wasn't just about me. It was about everyone around him. It was year 6 of our marriage. My mom got sick, really sick. Cancer, stage 3. The doctors caught it early enough that treatment was an option, but it was going to be brutal. Chemo, radiation, months of hell. Chloe was only 19 then, still in college, terrified. She'd always been close to our mom. The idea of losing her was destroying Chloe. She'd call me crying at 2 in the morning. She couldn't focus on her classes, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I did what I always did. I took care of things. I coordinated Mom's treatment schedule. I drove her to appointments. I sat with her during chemo. I cleaned her house. I made her meals. I held her hair while she threw up. I slept on her couch on the bad nights so she wouldn't be alone. And through it all, Mark was absent. I can't take time off work right now, he said, when I asked him to come to one of Mom's appointments. We're in the middle of a huge deal. It's not a good time. It's never a good time. My mom has cancer. She needs support. We need support. I know, and I'm sorry. But I can't just drop everything. You're doing great. You've got it under control. You've got it under control. Like my mom's cancer was a project I was managing. Like I wasn't falling apart inside. Like I wasn't exhausted and terrified and barely holding it together. The worst part came 3 months into treatment. Chloe called me in tears. She'd failed 2 of her classes. She was on academic probation. She was thinking about dropping out. I can't focus, she sobbed. Every time I try to study, I just think about Mom, about losing her. I can't do this, Sarah. I can't. I drove to her college, 3 hours each way, sat with her in her dorm room, held her while she cried, helped her talk to her professors, helped her make a plan to catch up, helped her see that she could do this, that Mom would want her to keep going. When I got home at midnight, Mark was on the couch watching TV. "Where have you been?" he asked. "With Chloe. She's struggling. She's thinking about dropping out." "That's dramatic." I stared at him. "Dramatic? Our mom is dying. Of course she's struggling." "Your mom isn't dying. She's in treatment. There's a difference." "There might not be a difference. The doctors aren't sure it's going to work. She might die, Mark, and Chloe is 19 years old and terrified, and I'm trying to hold everyone together, and you're sitting here watching TV like nothing is happening. What do you want me to do? I can't fix this. I can't cure cancer, so I'm staying out of the way and letting you handle it. I don't want you to cure cancer. I want you to show up, to be there, to help carry some of this weight. I am here. I'm supporting you by working, by making sure we have money, by keeping things stable. I don't need money. I need a partner. I need someone who gives a damn that my family is falling apart. He turned back to the TV. I do give a damn. I just don't see the point in falling apart with you. Someone has to stay calm. Calm. He thought he was staying calm, but he wasn't calm. He was checked out, disconnected, choosing to not engage because it was easier than actually caring. I wanted to scream at him, to throw something, to make him feel even a fraction of the pain I was feeling. But I was too tired, too worn down, so I just went to bed, alone. Because Mark didn't come to bed until hours later, after his show was over. Mom survived, the treatment worked, she went into remission, and Chloe finished college. But those months had broken something in me, something I never got back. The illusion that Mark would be there when I needed him. The belief that he cared about anyone other than himself. And now Chloe was going to marry him. Chloe, who'd cried on my shoulder during the worst time of her life. Who I'd driven 3 hours to comfort, who I'd helped put back together. And she thought I was jealous, thought I couldn't stand her being happy. She had no idea that I was trying to protect her from the same man who'd abandoned us both when we needed him most. The same man who'd chosen his comfort over our pain. I told Ben the story that night. We were in bed. The lights were off. I was staring at the ceiling again, unable to sleep, unable to stop my brain from spinning. I should have told her that, I said. About Mom, about how he wasn't there for any of us. Would it have made a difference? I don't know. Maybe. It's not just about me and him. It's about who he is as a person, how he treats people he's supposed to care about. You can still tell her. You can try again. She won't listen. She's made up her mind. She thinks I'm the enemy now. Ben rolled over, looked at me in the darkness. So what are you going to do? I don't know. My voice cracked. I don't know how to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Maybe you can't save her. Maybe you have to let her make this mistake. I can't. I can't just stand by and watch her marry him. Watch him hurt her the way he hurt me. I can't, Ben. Then what? What's your plan? I didn't have a plan. Not yet. But I knew one thing. I wasn't giving up. I couldn't. Chloe was my sister, my responsibility. The little girl I'd protected her whole life. Mark had taken enough from me. My 20s, my trust, my first marriage. He wasn't taking Chloe too. I'll find a way, I said. I'll find a way to make her see. Before it's too late. Ben didn't respond, just pulled me close. And we lay there in the darkness, two people trying to fight a battle we weren't sure we could win. But I meant what I said. I'd find a way, even if it meant sacrificing my relationship with Chloe. Even if it meant she hated me for the rest of her life. I'd rather have her hate me and be safe than love me and be destroyed by Mark. Simple. Necessary. I just had to figure out how to make it happen. The next morning, I woke up with a new sense of purpose. Chloe wouldn't listen to me. Fine. But maybe she'd listen to evidence. Facts. Things Mark couldn't explain away with charm and excuses. I spent the day digging. I looked him up online, found his LinkedIn, his company's website, articles about him in business journals. He'd done well for himself. Very well. Senior vice president at a major firm, 6-figure salary. All the external markers of success. But I was looking for cracks, for patterns, for anything that showed the Mark I knew was still there, underneath the polished exterior. I found something. A review on one of those employer rating sites, posted anonymously by someone who'd worked under him. It was from 2 years ago. Mark Harrison is charming in meetings, but impossible to work for. He takes credit for his team's work, throws people under the bus when things go wrong, and has zero empathy for work-life balance. I watched 3 people burn out under his leadership. He doesn't see employees as people. He sees them as tools. Would not recommend. I screenshot it. Saved it. This was something. Not proof of how he'd treat Chloe specifically, but proof that he hadn't changed. That the selfishness I'd experienced was still there. Still hurting people. I kept digging. Found more reviews. Similar themes. Demanding. Self-centered. Only cares about results. Will sacrifice anyone to make himself look good. It was a pattern, clear and undeniable. Mark Harrison was still the same person, just older, more successful, better at hiding it. I compiled everything, the reviews, the timeline of our marriage, the specific incidents, Mom's cancer, the miscarriage, the forgotten anniversary. I put it all in a document, organized, clear, factual. And then I sent it to Chloe, not as an attack, just as information, with a message. I know you're angry with me. I understand. But please, just look at this. Not for me. For yourself. Make an informed decision. That's all I'm asking. I hit send, and then I waited. Hours passed. No response. I checked my phone obsessively. Refreshed my email? Nothing. Finally, at 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. Don't contact me again. I'm serious, Sarah. Leave me alone. Leave us alone. If you can't support my marriage, then I don't want you in my life. I read it 3 times. Each time hurt more than the last. I'd pushed too hard, sent too much, overwhelmed her, when I should have backed off, given her space to come to her own conclusions. And I couldn't help myself. I couldn't just wait, couldn't just hope she'd figure it out. And now I'd lost her. Maybe permanently. I showed Ben the text. He read it, sighed, pulled me close. I'm sorry, he said. I ruined everything. No, you tried to protect your sister. That's not ruin, that's love. She doesn't see it that way. Not now, but maybe someday she will. Someday. That word felt hollow, empty, because someday might be too late. Someday might be after Mark had already broken her, after the wedding, after months or years of marriage, after the damage was done. I couldn't wait for someday. I needed to act now, while there was still time, but I'd run out of moves. Chloe had shut me out, told me explicitly to leave her alone. If I pushed any more, I'd lose her completely, and if I did nothing, she'd marry Mark. I was trapped, caught between protecting my sister and respecting her wishes, between being the villain who ruined her happiness and the coward who let her walk into danger. There had to be another way, had to be something I hadn't thought of yet, some angle, some approach. I just had to find it, before the wedding, before it was too late, because Mark Harrison had won too many times, hurt too many people, and I was done letting him get away with it. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The silence between Chloe and me stretched into days, then a week, then 2. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a text, an email, anything, but there was nothing, just the echo of her last message. Don't contact me again. I'd never gone this long without talking to my sister. Even when we fought as kids, we'd make up within hours. This was different. This was a wall, solid, impenetrable, and I'd built it myself by pushing too hard. Ben watched me spiral. I could see the concern in his eyes, the way he'd look at me when I was staring at my phone again, the way he'd gently take it from my hands and remind me to eat, to sleep, to do something other than obsess. You need to talk to someone, he said one night. We were in the living room. I was on the couch, my laptop open to Mark's company website, for the 100th time, looking for something, anything. I'm talking to you, I said. I mean really talk. Not just spiraling, not just researching him like he's some criminal you're tracking. He is a criminal. Maybe not legally, but morally. And I'm not spiraling. I'm trying to find a way to protect my sister. Ben sat down next to me, closed my laptop. Sarah, look at me. I did. His eyes were kind, but firm. The look he got when he was about to say something I didn't want to hear, but needed to. Chloe told you to back off. You need to respect that. How can I? How can I just sit here and do nothing while she walks into the same trap I did? Because she's an adult. Because it's her life. Because you've done everything you can and now you have to let go. Let go? I pulled away from him. You want me to just give up? To let Mark destroy her? I want you to accept that you can't control this. You can't save everyone, Sarah. No matter how much you love them. She's my sister. It's not about control. It's about protection. It's about preventing her from making a mistake she'll regret for the rest of her life. What if it's not a mistake? What if Mark really has changed? What if they're actually happy? I stared at him. You don't believe that. No, he admitted. I don't. But I'm not the one who has to believe it. Chloe does. And right now, she does believe it. And nothing you say or do is going to change her mind. If anything, the more you push, the more you drive her toward him. So I'm supposed to do nothing? You're supposed to respect her choice, even if it's the wrong one, even if it kills you to watch. I felt tears building, hot and angry. I can't just stand by and watch her marry him, watch him hurt her. I can't, Ben. He pulled me close, let me cry into his shoulder. I know it's hard, but you have to find a way to make peace with it. Because if you don't, you're going to lose her. Not because of Mark, because of you. I knew he was right. Logically, rationally, I knew. But logic and reason felt useless in the face of this. My baby sister was about to make the biggest mistake of her life, and I was supposed to just accept it, support it, smile and show up at the wedding with a gift and pretend everything was fine? I couldn't do it. I wouldn't. What if I could show her? I said slowly. Not tell her. Show her. Something undeniable. Something Mark couldn't explain away. Ben pulled back, looked at me warily. What do you mean? I need to see him, face to face. I need to confirm that he's still the same person. And then I need to find a way to make Chloe see it too. Sarah, I'm not going to do anything crazy. I just need to talk to him, that's all. And you think he's going to what? Confess? Admit he's a terrible person? No, but I'll see it. I'll see the same things I saw 15 years ago. The same patterns. The same emptiness. And maybe I can record it or document it somehow. Give Chloe proof. Ben was shaking his head. This is a bad idea. If Chloe finds out you went behind her back to spy on her fiancé, she'll never forgive you. She won't find out. I'll be careful. Sarah, I have to do this, Ben. I have to try one more time. And if it doesn't work, if I can't find anything, then I'll back off. I promise. But I need to know I did everything I could. He was quiet for a long time, looking at me, weighing the situation, calculating the risks. Finally, he sighed. If you're going to do this, you need to be smart about it. Don't confront him. Don't accuse him. Just observe. Get a read on him. And then we figure out what to do next. Together. Together, I agreed. And if Chloe finds out and hates us both, we deal with it. Together. I kissed him. This man who supported me even when he thought I was wrong. Who stood by me even when it was hard. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This could blow up in our faces. I know, but I have to try. I spent the next 3 days researching Mark's routine. It felt creepy, stalkerish, but I needed to engineer a chance encounter, something that wouldn't raise suspicions. I started with his LinkedIn. He worked at a firm downtown, high-rise, fancy. His profile listed him as Senior Vice President of Strategic Development, whatever that meant. There were photos of him at company events, speaking at conferences, always in a suit, always smiling, always the picture of success. I checked his company's website, found a calendar of public events. There was a networking breakfast coming up in 4 days, open to anyone in the industry. Registration required, but not exclusive. Perfect. I registered under my maiden name, Sarah Mitchell. Bought a ticket. Spent way too much time deciding what to wear. I needed to look professional, put together, not like a jealous ex-wife stalking her former husband. I settled on a black pantsuit and heels. Minimal jewelry, hair pulled back, makeup subtle. I looked at myself in the mirror the morning of the event and barely recognized myself. I looked corporate, cold, nothing like the woman Mark had been married to. Good. I didn't want him to recognize me right away. I wanted to observe him first, see him in his element, watch how he interacted with people when he didn't know I was there. The breakfast was at a hotel ballroom downtown. I arrived early, got coffee, found a seat at the back, watched people file in, networkers, salespeople, executives, everyone with business cards and rehearsed smiles. And then Mark walked in. 15 years. It had been 15 years since I'd seen him in person. I'd deleted all his photos, unfriended him on social media, blocked him from my life. But here he was, real, solid, older, but still handsome in that polished, practiced way. He'd gained weight, not much, but enough to soften his jawline. His hair was graying at the temples. He had lines around his eyes, but the smile was the same, that charming, empty smile that had fooled me for so long. He worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, touching people's shoulders, making them feel important. It was a performance, and he was good at it, really good. I watched him for 20 minutes, saw him talk to a young woman in her 20s. She was laughing at something he said, blushing. He handed her his business card, smiled that smile, and I felt sick. Because I recognized that look, that body language. He was flirting, subtly, carefully. But definitely flirting. And he was engaged to my sister. The keynote speaker started. Everyone found seats. Mark sat 3 rows ahead of me. I could see the back of his head, the way he leaned back in his chair, relaxed, confident, like he owned the room. After the speech, there was a coffee break. People mingled again. I waited, let Mark get surrounded by his admirers. Then I approached, casual, like I'd just spotted an old acquaintance. "Mark?" He turned. His smile was automatic. Then he actually looked at me. Recognition flickered across his face. Surprise, confusion, then that smile again. Bigger, warmer, faker. "Sarah, wow, what a surprise. What are you doing here?" "Networking. You?" "Same. This is really unexpected. How long has it been?" 15 years. 15 years. He shook his head. "Time flies. You look great. Really great." "Thanks. You too." We stood there in awkward silence. People swirled around us. I could see him calculating, trying to figure out why I was here, if I knew about Chloe, if this was a coincidence or something more. "I heard you got remarried," he said. "Congratulations." "Thanks. Yeah, Ben, he's great." "Unhappy for you. You deserve to be happy." The words were right, but the delivery was off, like he was reading from a script. Like he didn't actually care, but knew he was supposed to say it. "I heard you're engaged," I said, watching his face. "Congratulations." There it was, a flicker. Just for a second. Uncertainty. Guilt. Something. Then the smile was back. "Thank you. Yeah. Chloe. She's amazing. I'm very lucky." Chloe. He said her name so casually, so easily, like she was just another thing he'd acquired. Another trophy. "How did you two meet?" I asked, keeping my voice light, curious. "Through work. Well, adjacent to work. She was consulting for a client of mine. We hit it off immediately. Just clicked, you know? Clicked. What a romantic way to describe falling in love. That's great. She's a great person." "She is. She talks about you all the time, her big sister. She really looks up to you. Past tense would have been more accurate. She used to look up to me, before I tried to ruin her happiness. We're close, I said. Always have been. You too. He started to turn away. I stopped him. Mark? Yeah? Be good to her. Chloe. She deserves someone who puts her first. His smile tightened, just slightly. Of course. I plan to spend the rest of my life making her happy. Good. That's all I want. For her to be happy. We looked at each other, and in that moment, I saw it. The thing I'd been looking for. The emptiness behind his eyes. The performance behind the charm. He was saying the right things, but he didn't feel them. He didn't mean them. He was playing a role, and Chloe was his latest audience. I should get going, I said. Yeah. Take care, Sarah. I walked away, left the ballroom, got in my car, and I sat there, shaking, because seeing him had confirmed everything. He hadn't changed. The smoothness was still there. The charm was still there. But so was the coldness, the self-absorption, the complete lack of genuine emotion. Chloe had no idea who she was marrying. She saw the surface, the performance, but I'd seen beneath it.